Welcome to the inaugural episode of On the Trail of Science, Tracks and Trajectories. I'm your host, Zing, and today we embark on a journey into the transformative world of study abroad experiences. In this very first episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Archana, an alumna of the Organization for Tropical Studies OTS program in South Africa. Archana shares her experience and insights on cultural surprises, personal growth, and the profound impact of immersing oneself in South Africa's rich biodiversity. Whether you are considering a study abroad adventure or simply curious about the intersections of culture, education, and conservation, these conversations offers very valuable insights and perspectives which I'm sure you all will enjoy. Join us as we explore Archana's journey and the lasting impressions her time with OTS brings. Hi, Archana. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Zing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you.
Yeah, of course. I loved being a part of OTS. So any chance I have to tell future students about how awesome it was and any advice I can give, I'm happy to do that.
Fantastic. Great. So I have a couple of questions for you that I would want to ask in over the next few minutes. And yeah, we just essentially they would all cover part of your experience while you were on the course at OTS and a little bit about being back here in the US and just to see how everything kind of ties up. OTS is Organization for Tropical Studies. We are an organization based in South Africa, Costa Rica, and in the US. We do offer semester abroad programs in South Africa and Costa Rica. What is your beginning with OTS? How did you hear about OTS and which of the programs did you attend and when?
Yeah, so my school had a list of all the study abroad programs that were kind of partnered with my university. Some of them weren't directly through my school, some of them were. They basically just have like a website with a list of all of them. And I was kind of looking for programs that were related to biology and environmental science. I'm a biology major and I'm pre-veterinary, so I wanted to do something that was, related to conservation, and also my major. So OTS was kind of perfect for that. I also really wanted to go somewhere that was like had a lot of natural beauty and a lot of like outdoor things to do. So OTS, like I read the course description on my school's website and it looked perfect. So yeah, that's kind of how I found OTS.
And which programs you attend?
Oh, I attended OTS South Africa, and that was the past spring in 2024. Yeah.
2024, fantastic. Okay, so United States of America to South Africa, quite a long flight and very different cultures. And obviously, I would want to start from there. So, what was one, if you'd put it, one of your biggest cultural surprises? Let's put it at when you first arrived in South Africa. I'm sure it was your first trip to Africa, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But what was your kind of biggest cultural surprise when you first arrived in South Africa? And how did that kind of shape your experience over the course of the semester you were there?
Yeah, I think it was really surprising to me just how diverse it is. Obviously, like I knew South Africa had a lot of different like ethnicities, but I think the biggest surprise for me was how many people like of Indian origin there are, especially because I'm also a person of Indian origin. I was not expecting, like on the first day when we landed in Johannesburg, we went to the mall and there were so many Indian people there. And I was like, oh, this is just like America again, or this is just like India again. And it was really nice to see someone that was like me, see a lot of different like people from different backgrounds, a lot of people of color. So it was really nice to like, it helped me feel like I was not out of place. And it also definitely like, I like being a person of Indian origin and getting to talk to people that are Indian from another country was really interesting as well. Like we have a lot in common of, being like the kids of immigrants and also like feeling separate from our culture, but also like still feeling Indian. And it was really interesting to kind of talk about that experience with like South African Indian people that I met like in Cape Town and in other places. And that was really awesome to like share those experiences.
That's fantastic. Now, OTS is a full semester program. It lasts about 100 days, and within those days, you get to travel around the country quite a bit. You spend a chunk of this time in the Kruger National Park, which again is fantastic experience. We'll sort of get back to that a bit, but I just want you to take a second to cast your mind back over these 100 days that you spent in South Africa and just think if you could share perhaps a specific moment or experience of your time in South Africa that left more like a lasting impression on the whole 100 days that you spent. And this could just be, it could be an adventure or an interaction that you had with maybe one of the locals in the country, or on the course could be one of the academics or the teaching assistants or one of the students that you were there with, or one of the lessons, could be anything. But is there any moments or experience that really stood out from your time there that you'd want to share with us?
There are obviously so many like amazing, like I'm having a hard time like narrowing it down to one, but I think the moments that really stick out to me now, especially as a person that like loves animals, were those really like unique close up like encounters with animals. Like I remember in our first week there were two male lions like right like outside our GDV when we were driving out of the park, and like close enough that I could like see every single hair. Like if I wanted to, obviously I didn't want to, but I could reach out and touch them. And it was like so amazing to like be up close to these animals and see them in their, you know, natural habitats. Even though like there's people around, it's still as close to a natural, you know, wildlife area as it gets. And that was a moment that really stuck out to me, seeing those lions. And another really special moment was we were going to the campsite for one of our like weekends, and there was a leopard that was walking in front of our GDV for like the whole time, and it was like it didn't care, and it was just like looking at back at us, and it was just like walking in the middle of the road and like didn't care. And it was just a really special moment to get close to like such a rare, you know, species to see. Yeah, and of course, seeing the Varro's eagle owl multiple times
Yep.
was a really great experience. That was I really love birds, and this was like an owl that I really wanted to see like before I came to the program, or like and I was like, oh, like I mean, I doubt I'd see it, or like I would really have to search for it. And then in our like second week being in Kruger, it like was right outside the OTS campus.
Yeah.
So it was kind of insane and just like a really magical moment that like has stuck with me for a long time. And then we saw that same owl like multiple times the same week. And I think Zane, you mentioned that it's still like in the area potentially.
It is absolutely, which is something that I found really special with your group. And I know we've said this a couple of times ago, but there are some animals that we rarely see. We know that the leopard could be one of them, but kind of having to see them, sighting them, really, especially close up and up personal, is not very common. You get to see them every now and then, and oftentimes you just sneak away as soon as you see them. And but with your group, we saw them multiple times, and the example you gave, I remember, it was literally just walking and turning, and it was like we just didn't exist there. And it
Yeah.
was not going to be difficult to tell you guys, this is not really common. Like, this is a very special sighting. Same with the Verrex Eagle Owl, which I have been there for years and haven't seen any that close. And this just came again and again and again. And
It was like right. I had been talking about seeing that bird for like the first 2 weeks of the program. Like I had been talking about it so much, and I was like, I need to see this bird. I need to see this bird. And like, I mean, it's not the most rare species, but it's also not super common. Especially we saw it during the day. Like it was kind of crazy, kind of insane.
Absolutely. No, that was really cool. But now, okay, so let's try to kind of go towards the academic aspect of the course a bit. How did you find the academic environment in South Africa, especially within OTS and the AEC, which is the kind of the program that you attended, and how does this compare to your university back here in the US? And in what way would I say personal growth did you experience from studying in such a different context? Because again, I'm sure that comparing what you had within the semester at OTS and your home institution is quite different. Did you find any personal growth experience that you would say from your time in South Africa?
Yeah, so I'm a biology major at Emory University, and so a lot of my classes are very classroom focused, very lecture heavy. There are like lab components, but they're like controlled experiments. You're not like going out and running your own research experiments. And that was like one thing I really loved about OTS is how like hands-on it is from the beginning. You're going out in the field and collecting data and learning how to analyze it, and like doing that with um real data that you collect yourself that's being used for actual like conservation purposes was also really meaningful, because I feel like at university, like a lot of it is just hypothetical, like projects that they just make up to give you to earn a grade. It's not something that would actually go towards um like a purpose.
Mhm.
And so it was really great for our final project, studying the endangered plant, and that information was going to get used by the park managers to conserve this plant. So it was really great to get to contribute to that. Another thing that was pretty different from my like university experience, OTS is very like scientific writing focused. And in my classes at school, like you might have to write like one essay the entire semester or one like in the entire year. And so like I really appreciated that it built really strong writing skills, and we did so many papers that I got to improve and like, learn how to write. It was also really great to like read a lot of like a variety of like scientific literature that I had to find for to be able to write these research papers and stuff. So yeah.
Right. Fantastic. Now, you did mention earlier on about how incredibly biodiverse South Africa is and very different ecosystem to what you is available here in the US. Would you say, is there any kind of initiatives or projects that you did on the course? You did mention that it was kind of very heavy on the field side. Is there any of the initiatives or projects which you took part in that kind of stood out to you in terms of environmental or social responsibility? And I would say because we did aspect of homestays, which would kind of impact on your sort of social responsibility a bit, and also really having to live with quote unquote strangers in terms of students from other American universities, you all Americans, but from different institutions. And most of them you would only meet for the first time when you arrive on the coast. So these are strangers and in a new country, and you have to leave and having this kind of very rigorous academic exercise in the classroom, outside of the classroom. Is there any of the projects or initiative that really stood out to you and impacted you in terms of environmental or social responsibility, you'd say?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is definitely the homestays. Um, I had a great experience, and I mean, it was only 3 days, which like was it felt like really long and super short at the same time. It just reminded me of all the things I feel like I need to have to like I don't need those things to feel happy, to live like a content life. Like they like every night you could see basically every star and like the Milky Way. And that's not something I can do unless I drive like really far away here. Like I've never been able to see like more than like 20 stars in the sky at once, I think. But so that was kind of insane to see like um how different it is living in a village, and also like it kind of reminded me of how like the huge like environmental impact we have negatively on the environment in living in big cities, living in America. And it just really reminded me to be grateful for what I have, also to strive to reduce consumption and reduce, our negative environmental impacts um, on our surroundings. And yeah, that was really amazing. Another initiative that or project that kind of stood out to me was doing our first small pools activity. Um, we basically sampled different invertebrates in different like small water bodies throughout Kruger, and like we would like count and classify like every single organism we saw in there. And it kind of was really interesting to see how potential like pollutants and human activity, even in these like naturally conserved areas that are not super close to, they're not urban, like densely populated areas, like they still have negative human impacts on the communities and stuff. So I think that was like my biggest takeaway from OTS in general, is like what a negative impact humans have had on the environment, but also that there are awesome people at OTS and in other places that are working to bring these issues to light and also find solutions to work towards them.
Fantastic. Right. So this is really great. And you did mention earlier on about your kind of moving up into South Africa and your whole experience. And I really like how you're wrapping it up now. You've talked about homestays, and homestays, just in case one of our listeners is not familiar with that, it's just a time during the course where students are being taken to experience living in a rural South African community. And essentially we just attach them to households where they get to live for 3 days or 3 nights and 4 days essentially, and just interact and immerse themselves into the lifestyle and the community, and also do some exciting research of kind of the way of life of people in rural South Africa. So in summary, that's what it is. And usually, and I'm sure this was also true with Archana, but also all American students having to come from living in an urban area in the city of in America, and then right to rural South Africa. It takes quite a bit of shift, and oftentimes the experience and the lessons learned it lasts a lifetime. Now, my next question will kind of build upon that. So essentially, after you've immersed yourself in South Africa, because I believe after 100 days, you will, to some extent, have immersed yourself into living in South Africa, driving on the wrong side of the road to start with, and having to eat foods that you probably are not very familiar with, and homestays, living in perhaps home experiences that you wouldn't have, sharing a room with 3, 4 other people, where perhaps back home it would just be the one person, and so on and so forth. The experiences could be several. But after immersing yourself in this way in South African life for a full semester, what did it feel like for you to return back to the US? And did you experience any reverse culture shock? And how has this experience in South Africa changed the way you see life back home in the US?
Yeah, so it definitely, like, by the end of the 100 days, I think I really enjoyed being in South Africa, but I was ready. Like, I missed home, I missed my dog, I missed my family. I was ready to come home. But then as soon as I was home, I was like, after a week, I was like, oh, like, I wish I was back in Kruger, like looking at animals and driving around and looking for birds. That part was, I think, unmatched in anywhere else in the world. Like, getting to just be around these incredible animals is like, that was the thing that I think I missed the most when I came back here. The food was also really amazing at OTS. I miss like eating braai like every Friday. But I went back to being a vegetarian after I came here. So, there's that too.
Mhm.
What else? Yeah, I think it just like I got back into my normal life, and it like being in South Africa was like in many ways felt like a dream or like an adventure, and that was like it, like now that it's in my rear view mirror, I'm like, was that even real? Like, it doesn't, like it feels like such an amazing, unique adventure that I can't believe that I had. And now that I'm back in my normal life, it feels even stranger. But
Right.
I have very fond memories, and I would love to like come to OTS and hang out again. Mhm.
Fantastic. Now, talking about loving to be back at OTS and experiencing that again, or experiencing something else with South Africa, with OTS, there are a number of potential students in Emory University to start with other universities in the US who might be thinking, do I want to go for a semester abroad program? And there are options in the university. But if you are now to speak to one of the current undergraduate students back at Emory or any other US university who might be considering going on a semester abroad program to experience, what would you tell them to try convince them to choose OTS as compared to the other options that they might have available?
Yeah, I think, like, where else in the world are you going to be able to see like such incredible biodiversity and get to have a real impact on conservation and the world. I think it's an amazing program if you're interested in environmental science or biology, or honestly any discipline. You could find a way to relate it to OTS. But and if you love being outdoors, like that's awesome for you. If you also don't like being outdoors, like you can just stay inside all day. Sometimes I did that. But there's just, South Africa is so unique, and there is so much that you can learn from the researchers, the people you meet in the village, the other students at OTS, the South African students at OTS. I roomed with a South African student, Holly, for most of the time, and we became really close. But it's like, it will literally change your life going to OTS. And it's just so amazing while you're there. It's like an adventure. So yeah, I don't know where else you're gonna have an amazing adventure with, lions and elephants and leopards, but definitely in OTS South Africa, that can happen.
Fantastic, great. Now, just before we wrap things up, when you returned to the US, what was the first food that you were really craving for? You didn't have for 100 days. What was the first thing you went for?
I think like my mom's like home cooking. Like I just had like she cooked like her normal like Indian food, and like I was just really missing that. Like just rice and like curry and stuff. Like that's what I was missing. My mom's home cooked food, but the food at OTS is like honestly like really good. Like it is like a like restaurant level home cooked meal every night basically. Yeah. So the food I wasn't really craving anything so much because I had like amazing food the entire time. But yeah.
Right, fantastic. Okay, quick question without having to think about it now. Music or sport, which stands out quickly for you?
In South Africa?
No, like your life, what you do
In my life? Oh, definitely music.
For fun. Music.
Definitely music, yeah.
Okay, what genre do you really like listening to?
I definitely listen to like a lot of rock music, any type of rock. Yeah.
What's the last song on your playlist?
Okay, well, I gotta check.
Yeah.
I gotta check. Okay, what is my last song? It's Seven Seas of Rye by Queen. It's a great song. I love Queen. Yeah.
7 seasons. No, that sounds like a really fantastic one. And on that note, I would really want to thank you for making this quite an exciting first start on the podcast series. I really enjoyed chatting with you. I've always enjoyed interacting with you from the very first time you came to South Africa on the OTS course. You've been a fantastic addition and student and a friend on the course. I've really enjoyed. And your addition, you have very deep questions, and to come from someone with a pre-vet background, but you really immersed yourself. You were very open and willing to learn. That the 100 days, I learned so much from you, and I'm glad that I'm having to start with you again on this kind of podcast series. So Archana, I really want to appreciate you for the time and for having to chat with me on this day. But hopefully our paths get to cross again and we get to speak some more. And I'm really excited to kind of see how your career projectile is just going to go forward, especially an impact that OTS will probably have had to influence. You did mention kind of your research writing, for example, but it'll be exciting to see how you would kind of develop into someone great in the near future that we would be very proud to say that's an OTS alumni. Now she's doing great in a vet research field or something that you just find yourself happy doing. But thanks so much for coming, and we'll get to speak again sometime soon.
Thank you so much, Zing.
Right, and have a good day.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with others who care about science, conservation, and the natural world, or with any prospective students who will benefit from the OTS experience. Do follow us on our social media. We're OTS Abroad on Instagram and Tropical Studies on Facebook. You can also send us an email at otsabroad64@gmail.com. Remember, each one of us has a part to play in preserving these incredible environments. If you're an OTS alum or you're part of the OTS family with stories to tell, we'd love to hear from you. reach out and be part of the podcast. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you back here on the Trail of Science, Tracks and Trajectories for more amazing OTS stories.